This is the Fulton Podcast.
And welcome back to the Fulton.
Okay, just punch the microphone. Check that. Okay. Right.
And welcome back to the Fulton Podcast. I am your permanent guest host, John Fulton, and joining me is the Dark Lord of Engineering, Professor Matt.
Hello.
Or Matt, as we like to call him. Joining us once again is the man, the myth, the legend, former Star Wars fan, Craig W. Birchett.
I still don't like Star Wars.
It's a lie.
Episode 8.
It's
the
a
rest
lie.
of it's fine. Episode 8.
This week, or, well, in the last week and a half or so, we all saw Mission Impossible Fallout.
Mission Impossible.
So Mission Impossible, obviously, long-running action franchise, and in the early days, it was a little bit hit or miss, but the last 3 movies or so, it seems like they've had a really just regular line of hits. It's like each one is better than the last one.
Except for the title. I think the title still sounds like something more from the Fallout series instead of something from Mission Impossible.
Well, yeah, and plus there's, kind of, what?
Keep going.
It's like I keep hearing, it's like it says Fallout, and I don't think action. I think do 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 do, and then like a super mutant crushing somebody's head. You know,
Is that normally how that goes?
something like
I've
that.
never played a full.
I never played that game either.
Anyway, Mission Impossible Fallout. I thought it was really interesting because it is really, really a very, very finely tuned picture of action cinema, as they say. You know, it's not like Transformers where they just pack all the stuff in, but they really have kind of figured out what works about this franchise and what doesn't, and they've just it's like a machine, and you watch it and it's like you walk into it and then you walk out of it, and whether you know all the tricks they're using or not, it's still you walk out impressed.
It was solid. I think it was a good addition to the franchise. Definitely the best of what I consider the second trilogy. There's the first trilogy, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And then there's the other ones, which I can't even remember. I don't remember the episode, the fourth one.
Protocol
Ghost Protocol,
and
Rogue
Rogue
Nation.
Nation, yeah.
I kept getting those confused a little bit.
I do have them clear in my head now,
Yeah.
but I did have to think about it.
Well, I
went
went into this movie thinking it was the 5th one, forgetting about. I combined Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol into one movie.
Yeah,
Ghost Protocol almost kind of ghosted.
Yeah, it was kind of pretty medium.
It's hard to tell. Yeah.
Yeah,
They did introduce
I remember
the,
good
that
things
was Emily
about it,
Blunt,
though.
though, right?
It's weird. It's
Yeah.
like I remember all 3 of these last ones as being good, but I just, for some reason, the last 2 kind of blend together because they're so, they're very similar. And
But yeah,
I think it's because I think they were directed by different people. It's like only the last one and this one were directed by the same director, apparently. But
I'll fact check that.
somehow, what was it? I watched a review about it, and he was talking about it. This one and the last one, Fallout and Rogue Nation, were both directed by Christopher McQuarrie, and I don't remember who did Ghost Protocol. Oh, wait, no, I do. It's the guy who did The Incredibles.
Brad Bird.
Yep, Brad
Oh,
Bird.
nice.
Yep, it was his
Interesting.
first live-action movie.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah,
A lot of sense.
I think he likes the music. It's,
But yeah,
it's
yeah,
very-
and I guess we
you notice
go.
how The Incredibles had that really like James Bondy 60s spy music kind of thing. The music was very tuned towards something more actiony than you would think of for a superhero movie.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Well, there's a lot of 50s and 60s throwback music that made it kind of fit in the world it was in. But and I was talking about this with Craig earlier, is each of those movies are not completely in each other's pockets. It's like there's a lot of movies where it starts and then ends, and then the other one starts and then ends, and each one of these kind of separates itself out. And I think that really helped him out to make a kind of a cohesive story, because they didn't feel like they were, completely tied to each of these different movies.
I think I know what you're saying.
And
Marvel's really good at that.
Marvel's good at Marvel's good at that, but I think in some ways Mission Impossible franchise they spread things out even more, I think. And that made it I liked it better actually in some ways than the way Marvel did it, because it felt a little more self-contained and a little less like each movie was a cliffhanger.
Well, yeah, but that's because Mission Impossible knows that half of its appeal is this really complicated kind of story, and then the other half of it is these really epic stunts and tightly wound action scenes.
Yeah.
And as a result, they don't dwell too much on there's continuity from one movie to the next, but it's not every can that's opened at the beginning of a movie is closed up by the end. It's like a Die Hard movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's especially common in lots of genres, but action especially has a lot of that. Because it's just not as tied up around the drama between the different characters. And so if you have a cliffhanger or whatever, in even something like you'd think would be a special effects extravaganza, like Star Wars or whatever, there were a lot of relationships and things that were a lot of the appeal as well, and that's not quite as much the focus, but it's not a bad thing in something like Mission Impossible. So anyway, individually speaking, what did each of you guys think of it? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I would definitely give it a thumbs up. I would say it is probably my second favorite in the Mission Impossible series, or saga, I guess we've hit at this point with 6 movies. It was good. It was solid. Good action. There was good, just everything you would expect from a Mission Impossible. I mean, I went in expecting intrigue, mystery, some turns that I didn't expect. I'm not sure if it's because I'm older now or if I'm a bitter filmmaker artist. I don't think it's that. Or maybe I've just seen enough of these movies, but I kind of saw where things were happening. Like there's some parts where there's some twists, and I definitely saw those coming, and I definitely predicted a few things as maybe not like way before it happened, but as it was coming, I was like, okay, so in the next 5 minutes we're about to see a mask.
Yeah.
So I definitely predicted those. I'm not sure, like I said, if it's because I'm older or I've just seen enough of those movies. But it was enjoyable. I watched it a second time with John. Just as enjoyable. Yeah. And in fact, it might be more enjoyable on the second watch because...
I definitely am going to see it again.
Oh, for sure. I think if you enjoyed it or if you really want to see it, watch it the first time, obviously, and then go see it a second time because there's things that that you'll be able to pick up on and be like, okay, so that makes sense. Or you'll see
there's a lot of depth to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, so yes.
I've only seen it the one time, but what I really enjoyed, or at least coming out of the theater, what I thought about that was kind of interesting to me because I had never kind of gotten this feeling from a Mission Impossible movie before. Is I felt like they kept in sight really well how the how do you say why each of the characters does what they do. They kept that in sight, and it made. It made the Ethan Hunt character tick. It made each of the different leads make sense, And they ended up doing things that weren't always... There were a lot of twists in that, but each of the people you tended to know would do things that made sense. And I think that really helped the believability of the movie. And so when I came out the other end, I went, hey, I've learned something about, myself, how I would think about this stuff, which I thought was kind of an interesting surprise for me. I haven't always gotten that from a Mission Impossible movie. In the first one, the very first one, he goes through this thing where we get this emotional connection to everything going wrong, and everybody's had that moment happen. But in this one, I felt like we had kind of a similar sort of jive to it, where you had that sort of like, I get you, and I understand why Ethan Hunt's doing what he's doing, and I understand why these people are doing what they're doing, and they really are confronted with a problem, and they like other people in this situation, but it doesn't mean they can always trust them, and it was a unique dynamic, I thought, for me.
So thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up, definitely. I would agree with you. I would put it second. I would put it second.
What's your first?
First one.
First one's your favorite?
I like the first one, yeah. Just classic.
It's a good one. It's classic.
Yeah.
I think third was my favorite. Not just J.J.
This
Abrams
one
directed
probably
it.
it's with the third one for me.
Okay. So
yeah.
it's
They're
a
pretty
tied
comparable.
second.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as specific to this movie and generally non-spoilery, I was just really impressed with. I could watch this movie and it was definitely centered as an action picture, but it was also a thriller in the way that it treated all the different characters as these independent agents competing against each other, and it just came across really vividly, I thought. And and we kind of, that's part of the thing I think that makes a Mission Impossible movie work, better than your average, Transformers sequel or something. It's just
sure.
that even when, they have the stunts down, but the thing that, Mission Impossible has for me over something like, Fast and Furious, where they're, yay, we got stunts and we're driving cars around and stuff, is just that the plots are so well tuned and the characters are so well just fitted to the roles, the writing involved in the roles. It's not a just Ethan Hunt by himself, the character, is this guy who's perfectly written to do what the character does. And then you have him and, Rebecca Ferguson's character, who's kind of, played up as his sort of opposite or equal, and you see them competing, but you still retain, sympathy for both of them and understanding why each one's doing what they're doing, and there's mystery in it. They don't feel a need to explain everything up front and just all of those things. It's just so well paced and clocked and put together. This movie, like I said before, it's just a machine that, it's just an emotion machine, and it does it really well.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So,
Well, and something I really enjoyed about it is it definitely keeps a sense of mystery, like you guys were both talking about. It doesn't tell you everything up front, and where we oftentimes, I think today, have a lot of movies that do that to you, and they sort of just dump it all out on top of you, and then you're supposed to just sort through the mess. And this movie, it's very well thought through, very well thought through. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely go see it. Thumbs up.
3 thumbs up all around.
That's right.
Yeah. You can't see them, but we're pointing our thumbs up. Yep. Okay, so next on our list of things is science questions. We started talking about this movie, and the first thing that developed into a discussion was we were talking about helicopters, and of course there's helicopters in it. And so we're starting to this is the point where we start to get into spoilery territory. It's like, if you've gotten to this point and you haven't seen the movie, go see the movie. It's in the theaters. It's great. It's awesome. You won't regret it.
We're not going to spoil it.
And then please come back, and then you can hear us talk about all of the different aspects of it, and then you'll want to go see it again because you'll be like, I didn't see that, and then you go back. Or at least that's my picture of the ideal way to view this podcast.
Right.
I have to go watch it again, guys. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
We're supposed to get quieter as you go.
That's right. I'm back. We're good. Let's do it.
This is radio theater.
That's going to be fun to edit. Okay. So we had a couple of different categories, but we'll just start with the helicopters because that's what you guys were most excited
Still good.
about.
I was definitely paying attention to helicopters.
So
Craig had some questions.
Craig
Science questions.
had some questions for Matt, the resident engineer and physics expert.
Resident smart person.
Yeah, and so I'll just let you start with.
Passed in all sciences.
I almost have a master's degree. It's all right. It's okay, guys.
That's great. I've got a bachelor's in nothing.
Yeah, so you can
pointing a camera at things.
So the master can tell us not bastards. We're
my professor started calling me master math.
We're bachelors.
Anyway, okay.
We're kind bastard
Fulton,
bachelors.
yeah.
No,
bachelors.
And bastards.
We're bachelors.
I like to bleep this out.
So I got married because I have a master's degree. See,
that's why we're even more bachelors. Whatever. Anyway,
no, that's not true at all. I know plenty of unmarried people with master's degrees.
I'll just let you take it away.
So, like all Mission Impossible movies,
have something cool.
There are some things that happen that I would deem somewhat impossible, but not in the respect that
impossible.
Right, not in the respect that we can't accomplish this, but impossible and like, can this really happen? So if you've seen the movie and you're listening to this part, there's a helicopter crash. Tom Cruise is chasing down Henry Cavill and his significantly bigger or supposedly more well-armed helicopter, and he's trying to crash into him.
They're the exact same helicopter. The only difference is that one of them has a crazed maniac who used to play Superman and maybe Jesus with a machine gun.
Okay,
that's a very interesting way of putting it.
Interesting, and the other one has a Scientologist in it.
That's true.
Sounds like the beginning of a joke.
A Scientologist and a Scientologist and a guy. A Scientologist and a mustachioed Jesus with a machine gun walk into a bar.
Machine gun Jesus.
Yeah, in all other regards, I believe the helicopters were the exact same.
Okay. I don't know helicopters, so
One had a massive load of
payload
stuff
of
on top
what?
of it.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Rocks,
Anyways,
I don't know.
It was something
That was-
wrapped in white stuff.
something they got.
Like
So
a
okay.
rocks.
So what is the survivability of helicopter
potatoes.
crashes?
So I went and actually looked this up, and looks to me like if you get in a wreck of some kind with a helicopter, there's like a 2 in 3 chance that you're gonna make it. The problem is they are also wrecking in basically the Himalayas,
Wait.
right?
I don't. Yes, but so my quote. You said there's a 2 in 3 chance that you will survive.
Yes, according to the statistics I was
That's
seeing.
not too bad.
That's actually what happened.
Now
There was
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
3 people involved. The only one that died was the pilot of the other helicopter.
That's statistically 100%
So maybe they're-
accurate.
Wow,
Look at
there
that.
you go.
Okay. Well, I thought it was like mostly everyone dies out of everyone.
Yeah, that was my guess too.
I imagine that encompasses all different intensities of crash too, though.
Right, like just like landing wrong and your thing gets stuck and your
oh,
rudder hits
dang.
the ground.
I tipped it
Sounds
over
like a really
accidentally.
dirty joke.
You know, or what? What?
Wow. Matt gets married and
your
somebody's
thing
jokes.
gets anyway. Okay,
What? What joke?
never mind.
Okay.
Something falls. And
I
you get
swear I was
stuck.
homeschooled.
You get your thing stuck. And, anyways.
Anyway,
Sorry guys, I was channeling
my,
James Michael.
basically, that was my question. Was just like
The pilot, who's,
so-
kind of basically
Yeah.
an extra,
Right.
dies, and then you have Henry Cavill and Tom Cruise, and they both survive the crash.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because the type of crash they get into, I'm pretty sure is not survivable. Mostly because
High
if you
altitude.
start rolling down and one high altitude, you get knocked out, you're probably just gonna pass out and die.
Yeah.
And the second thing is if you're rolling down, the Himalayas with a helicopter, I don't really care how much snow there is. You're probably gonna get stabbed by something. Not only that, you're really supposed to break all the bones at that point. That would have been tough. I did like though the way they made that pan out. Like the fight post crash made a lot of sense. Like I didn't see anything that was too crazy.
Except for the hook catching like twice.
No, but I mean well, let's put it this way. It
That
would have
rock
taken
is
it would
really
have
tough.
And
it would have
headshotting
taken his
him,
head off
the bad guy.
and would have just left us with a headless Cavill, and then Cavill would have fallen. But they couldn't show us that, so that was a little
Yeah,
too ugly.
they were-
The other thing was
That's where they decided to stretch that PG-13 rating. to
yeah,
splatter.
that would really do that. Yep. The only other thing was, at that point, Tom Cruise would be so fatigued that I don't think there's any way that he's going to be able to climb anything in any amount of time, just because of all the stuff he's been through at that point. Because he's done a lot of stuff. Try fighting somebody, and then climbing up 50 meters in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
That's a little tough.
But he
Well,
trained in
doesn't-
Mission Impossible 2.
Oh, that's a
Right.
good
He was
point.
climbing the
There you go.
Grand Canyon.
He was
to
climbing the
prepare,
dang Grand Canyon. Of course.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
That's why he spends his spare time doing stuff like that. I would do that, right? No, maybe not. I don't know.
Nope, I wouldn't.
No.
Sheila would.
Oh, well.
So speaking of, so you said speaking of like broken bones and stuff like that, like
Yeah.
how he would have broken every bone. In this universe, everyone seems to be like extra durable. Between
Yep.
Tom Cruise and what was his female counterpart? What was her name?
Yeah, that part was a
Ilsa
little
Faust.
stretching it.
They
Yeah,
both
it's
got
exhausting.
hit by a BMWs. So either BMWs are both really soft,
That's
or
probably what it is. That was the whole
but
point. It's
I-
a marketing point for BMW.
they both got hit, and neither of them had any broken bones. Tom Cruise, in real life, broke his ankle jumping from one building to another, in real life. But in the movie, he gets hit. They both get hit by cars, and neither of them. They just get right up and.
No, one of the things about that was kind of interesting is, she's actually wearing motorcycle armor
Yeah.
to some degree.
Does that
So-
hold your bones together better?
Well, and not only that, she's not got her feet planted on the ground when he runs her over, so she's more likely to be able to roll out of that.
Okay.
The only thing is
She hit the ground.
and she's female, and they're more likely to break bones.
Okay.
They are.
Sexist.
Well,
Yeah.
but then also, like, Tom Cruise got thrown over the hood of a car and did a pretty sweet roll.
Oh, yeah, that.
Yeah.
It did, interestingly, it
That
did
was the
seem-
one where I
it did seem to
wanted
me
to see
pretty.
him walk away
it-
with
it-
something.
It did seem to me like
He hobbled.
I'm not sure how much.
He did hobble. I will give him
editing
that
he had.
credit.
I'm not sure how much editing was involved, but it did look like there was a lot more special effects involved in him flying over the over the car that he hits than in the part where he runs into Ilsa Faust.
Right. But in real life, what do you think? Broken bone, broken
Well,
something?
I mean, if you do it the way she does it, I think you probably wouldn't. But the way he does it, flying over the hood of a car, I think that'd be a lot more.
Yeah, I
rough.
think he was more likely
Yeah.
to break bones than she was, but
It's
both
like-
were bad places to be in. I've had friends who got into motorcycle accidents, and they were pretty darn lucky to get out without like breaking their head on things, you know.
Yeah, but
Well-
they did. And it was they were
did.
kind of similar incidents, and
Was a BMW involved?
not necessarily, but it was a little old lady who didn't see the motorcycle. She just
Yep.
change lanes, boom, and it's gone. And
Needless
he
to
just,
say,
like,
when
roll-
Tom Cruise
he
drives
just, like,
by, drive defensively.
he
Yep,
rolled.
exactly.
He just rolled like 50 feet or something like that, skidded across the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
You dress for the slide, not the ride.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
the
thing
whole
that
way
they don't,
that
the thing
Tom
that they
Cruise
tend
flips
not to
over
show
is
you in special effects things
pretty
though
painful
is that
looking.
if you're in a situation where something blows up or there's lots of abrasion involved, your clothes tend to come off.
This is true.
Like not in a sexy way, but I just mean like I saw a clip of this
This is
guy.
true.
I saw a clip of this guy cutting, slashing someone's tire,
Yep.
and he
Yep.
leans too close to it, and it like blows his shirt off. He like flies over.
I'm also fairly certain he died.
Really?
I think so.
You've seen that clip?
Wow.
Yeah, it's like the
Oh,
one.
wow.
In like,
He could if he like hit his head real hard on the pavement, but it was just like.
Well, I think it was like a truck tire, so I think there's also like some form
Well,
of like
dang.
rubber shrapnel or something.
yeah, I
like that.
believe that.
It's like they're high pressured tires, stuff like that.
That might be the case. It did look like, I think it was
I
a
believe
pretty
it.
big tire, and a bigger tire would mean a bigger problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, those things are normally
was
like 34 psi or something, if not 40. If it's a bigger truck tire,
I
maybe
think it's like a
60,
semi-truck.
120.
I think it was like a semi truck or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
yeah, that thing would definitely
and that's what
chunk some
happened
pieces
to
at you.
our motorcycling friend. He skidded around. He skidded around, and his clothes just got torn right off. It was-
Yep.
Interesting. So as
No one
far
wants to
as
see
the
that.
yeah, nobody.
saved his skin though. Woo!
Yeah, I'll bet. As far as like the breaking bones thing, so I looked up what it takes to break human bone. I Google searched, and this is in my Google search for
Cool.
forever.
Cool. I got some numbers to work with.
That how much pressure to break bones? And the top research came from Curiosity.com. It said 1 cubic inch of bone can withstand the weight of 5 standard pickup trucks, give or take a few pounds.
Well,
What?
that's entirely from compression. So it's sort of like, think about this. Concrete can take like more than steel can in
Right.
compression. Okay, it's something crazy, like 100 megapascals or something.
So, but it's still
Okay.
going to shatter the bone.
But if you try and pull it apart, it can only handle like 30 odd megapascals. So steel is like 50. Like, I have to go look.
Interesting.
Anyway,
So this
but
is-
my point is
yeah.
is that just because something can handle compressive doesn't mean it handles shear
Right.
or
Like
torsion
quick, like force.
or yeah.
Plus, you have that would be like the difference between like if you have a stick, and you're trying to break it at a specific place, and you try to grasp it like in the
Okay.
middle, and you just have your fists next to each other, and you try to bend it.
Yeah,
It's a lot
exactly.
harder than if you put them way out at the ends because you got leverage on your side, and that changes that multiplies the force that you're applying to it. That's why
Yeah.
a lot of bones get broken.
Which is why I can have a hard time seeing Tom Cruise coming out of that without a broken ankle
Yeah.
because you strike him
So
somewhere
sure.
higher up on the shin and he'll break his ankle.
Well, so it also said that if you're looking for specifics to snap a piece of your skeleton, it takes about 4,000 newtons of force to break a
not much.
typical human femur.
That's not too much. That's like a
I
200
don't know
pounds,
what I don't know what
maybe
newton
less.
is. So.
It's like it's
Yeah,
about 200 pounds.
Nobody does.
Yeah, right.
How much
for
was
the
it again?
science
It says
people.
What's the
it
number?
says 4,000 newtons to
4,000 newtons.
to break a typical human femur, and that's
thigh bone.
I'm gonna point what
Thigh bone.
is that a thigh bone?
Yeah.
I don't.
I think it's like 6 newtons.
not a
to
doctor.
the- hang on.
But when Matt's looking up, I just find it hard to believe that. And again, like this isn't a problem with the movie. It's just something to comment on and just be like, haha, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I was when I was 19, maybe 20. I think I was 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a golf cart with some friends. I did something stupid. I jumped out while we were driving at about maybe 20 miles an hour, and I did a couple rolls and flips and bangs and bops,
That's like
and I
that.
fractured my wrist.
Ow.
And I was going 20 miles an hour. So it's interesting that if I can fracture my wrist at 20 miles an hour, flopping around like a tossed CD, I find it hard to believe that, like, you're not going to break something doing that, and then, especially in a helicopter crash.
Yeah.
Or even the car,
yeah.
like even that car incident, like he took a roll, and I looked similar to her rolling over the top of the car, but me just on the pavement, and I fractured my wrist doing that.
I see.
Yeah, and let me say this. I've had some experience with parkour and dealing with being able to jump off high objects and land and roll and handle stuff. And the thing is, you got to be really careful. And if things aren't under very controlled circumstances, things will break pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's like I can jump off of a 15-foot high drop and make it and roll and not even be injured. But if I was to do that and not do that, I'd blow a knee or something.
Well,
Stuff would break.
Well, it's like the time.
And that's the thing about a helicopter crash is there's no way to predict what's going to
Yeah.
happen. No one like knows how that's going to go down. There's too many things
Exactly.
going on, especially up in the mountains where everything, you can hit at an angle, you can hit straight onto things, and the helicopter may crush. It may not. That was one of the other things I thought was weird is the helicopter collapses into the mountainside and does not flatten itself. And there's definitely the possibility of that happening. Not to
Yeah.
mention exploding because there's still fuel in tanks.
Well, as you saw, the fuel that got sprayed all over
Yeah.
Henry Cavill's face.
That's right. Of
Yeah.
course.
So
We
Is
will
that
plan that.
Was
We
it
plan that.
fuel? I mean, it burned him. I wasn't sure what that was. I mean,
I thought it was fuel or just oil.
Could have been fuel or superheated oil.
I
Because
thought-
if his helicopter's going down, there's all sorts of things could be going wrong.
Oh, I thought it was like could have been like antifreeze or something like that. I thought that was corrosive.
Antifreeze is cold.
Yeah, unless it's
Well, but
heated
it's-
up and then it's steamed.
It's got it's,
okay.
it's like acidish or
No.
it's either way towards acid or way towards base or something like that. I can't remember what it's called.
I don't think
Maybe-
antifreeze would
maybe
do
I'm
that
wrong.
to you, but who knows?
I know it's really
mean,
bad to drink.
Don't drink it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
don't drink antifreeze, kids. It's you know what? Actually, it's not that probably much because
I think it's because it's
you
got a
can kill-
methanol in
because
it.
well-
I've got to go look, but I think it's because it's got an
yeah, I'm
actual
wrong. It's not. It's
alcohol
not.
that
It's not.
evaporates
It's
off
not
of it.
antifreeze. It's something else. But
Anyhow.
anyway,
Superheated oil could totally do that.
there's another one.
I've got I've got a few other science things. These are just like little quick like questions.
Yeah.
So all right. So imagine you're skydiving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Falling out of the sky. You get struck by lightning. What happens?
Yeah,
do, you,
this scene.
do you die or do you
Get
just get
knocked
like
out,
shut
or-
down? Overload your brain. You probably die. Like you're not grounded there, right? So my thing is like, what does that mean?
Well,
what does that mean for me? I'm
the
skydiving.
odds of you getting struck by lightning while falling are probably less than if you were standing on the ground.
right, but what if I'm
Which is
what
kind
if
of
I'm
interesting.
skydiving in a thunderstorm?
I thought you needed to be grounded. Well, not grounded. See if you're
No,
grounded.
no.
Then
See,
you
you
would
just
not
get
be
unlucky.
hit.
That's why I say it's unlikely. It can
Okay.
happen. Planes get struck by lightning.
Right, but like
But-
Oh, right. Yeah.
But what happens is it would be you're unlucky. The lightning happened to want to pass through you.
right.
You
So
see?
but right, but
Okay.
it passing through me, does that knock me out? Does that kill me? Would it not affect you? 'cause
Depends
I'm
on what
not
it passed through.
grounded? Like
It could pass through and vaporize your leg, or it could pass through and just kind of short you.
Vaporize? Really?
is there an option?
Yeah.
I just thought
it jumps
Little
over.
quick
It's friendly
question.
lightning. It's
I
like,
just
oh,
assumed-
by the way, which do you want? There are 3 possible options.
well, I assume I always just assume the lightning touches you and it goes, ooh, water-based organism, all of it.
Uh huh.
Yeah, no, it actually does pass through certain parts of you, or has the potential to.
So it would,
Yeah.
if it like hits one of your arms, and it might come out your foot or something.
Yeah, but like I said, you're just hugely unlucky at that point. I mean, the odds of you getting hit by lightning while falling through a thunderstorm are pretty low.
Okay.
Like
They do seem to
we-
be
we
falling
tend to
directly
forget. We
through
see a
the
lot of
worst
lightning.
part of it, though.
we see a lot of lightning, but thunderclouds are huge.
Yeah.
They're massive.
Yeah.
Like even relative to the ground, because of the way the ground is a certain size, and then
Yep.
the atmosphere is radii away from that, so it's actually even bigger. And you're falling in a helo jump, so the residence time there is like, oh, by the way, I was falling for 30 seconds and I got struck by lightning.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, I think I think I see what you mean there.
It's just hugely
I
unlikely.
think
That's
I
all.
think part of that is just like how there's a
What I didn't get, and here's
thing
my
about
question.
how sci-fi writers have no sense of scale. It's like that's not really limited to sci-fi. It's like when somebody says 12 parsecs or some bajillion thing, or they have
Yeah,
two ships
yeah.
that are right next to each other, and you're thinking they should be able to detect each other from a range that's where they can't even, if you just are looking at them with the naked eye, you wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to see them. And I think part of it's just staging. You know, like I was talking about pacing earlier. It's like, you know, the way this is written in the script. You know, you have Ethan Hunt walks to the edge of the airplane, looks down, and he sees lightning in the clouds. Goes, I shouldn't jump, and then they jump anyway. And of course, because Ethan's being proven right in this scene, you know, Henry Cavill gets struck by lightning.
Yeah.
So, and they want the scene to be over quickly, so it happens fast.
Yeah, and you know, there are things oftentimes where, because it's not uncommon for skydivers to black out, and oftentimes they'll have backup systems. What people don't realize a lot of times, most of your sensors for like altitude measurement and stuff like that can be analog. My point is you won't short them out necessarily unless for some reason the IMF decided that was not the way they wanted to go. But that can cause, or they can do stuff where it will automatically deploy your chute. Like that's totally a thing.
Oh.
Where if somebody falls out and they pass out, it's when that system goes down that you need to go make sure somebody's chute deploys. A lot of times. I mean, there are instances where you just don't have that these days, but I'm just saying you can do it.
So
like you can totally set up that sort of system.
So that's a fairly common system that it'll auto deploy after a certain amount of time.
Let me say it's doable, but it's not impossible. Like that's not hard at all.
But do they do it? I mean, is that a fairly
I
common
feature? I
feature?
want to say they do it. I don't know if I could say it's super common.
Okay.
I think in particular in some military applications they'll do that because they're under very rigorous.
That would make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and usually they like because you know people forget too. You know, skydiving and stuff like that is. How do I say it's largely a commercial market these days. So you get to decide what you want to do.
Yeah.
And
that's
so if
true.
you don't want to buy it, you don't have to buy it. You know what I mean? If you want to throw yourself outside of an airplane, it's like playing paintball. You get shot and it hurts. You got to live with the bruises. But, you know,
But
falling out of a plane
I would
that's
think
likely
that would
to
mean
make it.
that they would put more safety devices in because they don't have to, you know, it's custom job every single time. You know, they don't have to.
Yeah, I guess I'm
it's-
just saying it's
it's
kind
like
of
they
up to the
don't have
individual
to-
because that stuff is fairly new, I think.
Okay. Well.
I think that is fairly new. But
Yeah.
I have to do some research on that. But the point is, the question is, or rather the question I would have for you is that scene all just seemed weird to me because Henry Cavill gets struck by lightning, and yeah, we're proving Ethan Hunt right.
Mm-hmm.
But then why does he save him, and then that has no bearing on the plot from then on? That just bothered me. It felt like this like hanging thing.
I actually think I think that they inserted it maybe specifically because of that scene in the elevator where Henry Cavill's looking down on him and we know that he's a bad guy at this point and he doesn't just shoot him through the floor and instead threatens his wife and leaves him alone. And he's got this look on his face like, damn it, or something.
Yeah.
I have to.
Well, I think part of that was also for the scene in the elevator. I think part of that was because
It also makes him seem like more.
the
of a
main
dick
villain
when
was
he
also
sets
like-
Ethan
The
up.
main villain wants him alive, right? I mean,
the main villain wanted him alive.
it wasn't because he cared.
Right. It wasn't because he was like, oh, I feel bad. Well, I don't think Henry Cavill was ever even aware that happened. I think he just he passed out and then I opened my chute just in time. I don't think he ever even considered what happened.
Oh, well, I hadn't thought of that.
That's what I took away.
That was the only thing I could make sense of.
I thought
That's
he
the
was
only way I
just
could make
I
sense
thought he
of
was
it.
just being a dick.
No, I think he just didn't notice, and Tom Cruise was just like, he's like, lost your oxygen because he's a big dumb cowboy, and so he's
Well,
just
also
like,
he pulled his oxygen off,
right.
and so
Exactly. So I don't think he was even aware of that happening. Just think, I just got lucky, happened to pull my chute when I was unconscious because that's how my brain works. So I'm a super smart CIA agent or whatever.
yeah.
I feel like somebody more versed than that would be a little bit concerned that they didn't realize when they pulled their chute.
Right. I would have been like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
So that's what I took away. I don't think it was like I'm being a jerk or a jock and you're stupid and
Yeah, I don't know.
I think I took it as he just didn't even realize it happened. And then Tom Cruise was like, it's not worth pursuing because you're not going to be with me for too much longer. So
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a weird scene. That whole thing like came out and I was like, okay, I don't really know what happened, but okay, we got him on the ground.
the other questions I had are
We can talk about the car.
just the bullet refraction through glass. Like,
Oh yeah, I actually do know something about that.
okay, so So there's
Okay.
that scene where I always forget the character's name.
Ilsa Faust.
Ilsa Faust.
Ilsa Faust, also known as Rebecca Ferguson, the actor.
Actress.
Yeah.
She was shooting at Ethan and the rest of the guys in the car. She was aiming to kill.
What's his face?
Solomon Lane.
The main bad guy.
The bad dude. I can't remember his name
I'm
either.
so bad with names.
This is why I
Yeah.
didn't consider him really memorable because I couldn't remember his name. But I can remember what he looked like.
Solomon Lane. But so yeah, she was shooting at him, and it appeared to go like straight through the window. But like, wouldn't the bullet just keep going straight?
Actually,
Or does it just like hit the glass, penetrate, and just go?
there's
shoot
a
off in
lot
random
of people
direction?
who've done a lot of looking into this, mostly because I think the military thinks about it when, if a suicide bomber is running at you better know where to shoot so that you actually hit the guy.
Right.
A suicide bomber's driving his nice truck at you, trying to blow you up,
Mm-hmm.
And as near as I can tell, based on the stuff I've seen, bullets pretty much don't refract for at least a rifle.
Yeah.
The thing is she was shooting a more. Am I right, or was she shooting a subgun or something?
It looked like a light rifle.
I can't remember exactly. Normally, I would notice this, but
That's what I was going to ask you.
I
What
can't
did that
remember
look
off
like?
the
That
top
was
of my
loading?
head. It was definitely some sort of short barrel rifle or
It looked
submachine
like an
gun.
anonymous.
It looked like a 9mm subgun of some kind that was just mounted with a full barrel.
I think it. I don't know. I think it was a 5.56, but
Well, if it was
I
a
could be
5.56, it won't diffract hardly at all. Is
Yeah.
what I'm going to tell you. Unless at long ranges, it will not
Yeah.
deflect very much.
And
Those
I'm
are
assuming the
very
BMW
It deformed the
didn't have-
bullet. Don't get me wrong. It'll
Right.
deform the bullet, but the bullet
It
will
still
go through
goes
the same.
straight.
Pretty much.
Well, especially when there wasn't that much distance between Solomon Lane and the glass.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because that's the thing. Like at the angle it's going in, even if it refracts slightly, it's gonna just hit something
Well,
in the
and
car.
she was shooting down on them, wasn't she?
Yep.
Which means she's
Yep.
pretty much shooting 90 degrees to the
Right.
So it's not
that
going
would
to
make
matter.
it a lot less
Yeah.
angled than
So,
if she'd have
I
been on
mean-
the street down below.
I'm just chalking up to plot armor.
No,
but I
it was a
thought
good.
that
It was a good.
interesting.
And I thought that was an interesting scene because
You thought he died. You're like, oh, he's dead.
I was wondering about that
Yeah.
because I mean, how do you how do you shoot at a car with people you don't want to shoot while it's moving, and it's like how do you cheat that so that you're not?
She's an MI.
She's an MI6 agent.
So I think
that's our explanation.
Pretty
Well, I
much.
think at that point she doesn't. I mean, for where she was, just talking plot wise,
Yeah.
she kill him or you don't come home.